One of the strangest railway mysteries in history reportedly took place in Italy in the year 1911. A company known as the Zanetti Railway organized a special promotional trip for wealthy passengers. The journey was meant to be a luxury tour through scenic areas of the Italian countryside. The train carried 106 passengers and several crew members. During the trip, the train approached a long tunnel that had recently been constructed through a mountain. The tunnel was considered an impressive engineering project at the time. As the train approached the entrance, several passengers reportedly noticed something unusual. A strange white mist was drifting out of the tunnel. At first, no one thought much about it. Fog in mountainous areas was common. The train entered the tunnel, and then it never came out. When the train failed to appear on the other side, railway officials immediately began searching the tunnel and surrounding area. Workers inspected every part of the tracks, but the train was gone. There was no wreckage, no damaged rails, and no sign that anything had happened inside the tunnel. It was as if the train had simply vanished. However, 2 passengers survived. According to reports, these men had become frightened by the strange mist near the tunnel entrance and jumped from the train before it fully entered. They later told investigators that the fog seemed unnatural and thick, almost like smoke. As the train moved forward, it appeared to swallow the cars one by one. After that moment, the train disappeared completely. The story became even more mysterious years later when a strange report surfaced from Mexico. A hospital there claimed that 104 confused people suddenly appeared, all suffering from shock and disorientation. The patients reportedly insisted they had been traveling on a train in Italy. Doctors assumed the people were suffering from some kind of collective delusion, but the story spread quickly across newspapers. Some paranormal researchers believe the train may have entered a time distortion or dimensional portal inside the tunnel. Others believe the story is simply an elaborate legend that grew over time. But the mystery has never been fully explained. And according to some rumors, similar ghostly trains have occasionally been reported in tunnels around the world, appearing briefly before vanishing again into darkness. Some people believe those sightings might be connected to the lost train of 1911, still traveling somewhere far beyond the tracks we know. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, construction on the Stockholm metro system was expanding rapidly beneath the streets of Sweden's capital. Most trains running through the tunnels were bright blue and well lit, carrying thousands of commuters every day. But among metro workers and late-night passengers, rumors began to circulate about a strange train that didn't look like the others. Unlike the normal trains, this one was completely silver. It had no advertisements on its walls, no colorful markings, and the lights inside were dim and cold. The train looked unfinished, almost like a prototype that had been accidentally released onto the tracks. Metro workers called it Silverpilen, which means the silver arrow. According to official records, Silverpilen was a single experimental train used occasionally for testing and maintenance. It was never meant to carry passengers and rarely appeared during normal operating hours, but passengers began reporting something very strange. Late at night, when the stations were nearly empty, some people claimed a silver train would suddenly arrive at the platform without warning. Its doors would slide open silently. Inside, the seats were empty and the lighting was faint. Some curious passengers stepped inside. At first, everything seemed normal. The train would move forward just like any other metro train. But after a few minutes, passengers noticed something unsettling. The train wasn't stopping at any stations. Instead, it kept moving deeper into the tunnel system, passing stations without slowing down. Some riders reported that the tunnels looked different, older, darker, and unfamiliar. One man who claimed to have boarded the train in the 1980s described what happened next. He said the train eventually stopped at a station he had never seen before. The platform was cracked and abandoned. Broken tiles covered the walls, and there were no signs, no lights, and no people. It looked like a station that had been closed for decades. When he stepped off the train, the doors closed behind him. Within seconds, the silver train disappeared back into the darkness of the tunnel. But the strangest part came later. The man said that when he finally found his way back to a normal station and returned home, he discovered that several hours had passed, even though the journey had felt like only a few minutes. Other reports were even more disturbing. Some metro employees claimed that people who boarded the silver train sometimes disappeared for days. When they were eventually found, they had little or no memory of what had happened. One popular urban legend says that anyone who rides the silver pillion for too long will eventually arrive at a secret underground station called Kimlinga. Kimlinga station actually exists, but it was never completed and has remained abandoned since the 1970s. Because of this, locals often call it the ghost station. The legend says that Silver Pillen is the only train that stops there. Even today, some Stockholm metro drivers claim that during late shifts, they occasionally see a brief flash of silver moving through distant tunnels, far away from where any train should be running. Officials insist that Silver Pillen was retired long ago and never carried passengers, but many locals still believe that somewhere beneath the city, the silver train continues to move through forgotten tunnels, waiting for its next passenger. In the city of San Antonio, Texas, there is a railway crossing that has become one of the most famous haunted locations in the United States. Locals call it the Ghost Tracks. The story behind the haunting goes back to the 1930s. According to local legend, a tragic accident occurred at this crossing involving a school bus filled with children. One morning, the bus was driving across the railroad tracks when it suddenly stalled in the middle of the crossing. Before the driver could restart the engine, an oncoming train appeared in the distance. There was no time to escape. The train crashed into the bus, killing the children inside. The accident shocked the entire community. For years afterward, people avoided the area, believing it carried a terrible memory. But decades later, visitors began noticing something strange. If someone parked their car directly on the railroad tracks and shifted the vehicle into neutral, something unexpected happened. The car began to move. Slowly, without the engine running, the vehicle would roll forward off the tracks. At first, people assumed the road simply had a slight incline, but when investigators measured the ground, they discovered that the road actually appeared to slope toward the tracks, not away from them. That meant the car should roll backward, yet it didn't. Instead, it always moved forward, away from the tracks. Soon, a new legend began spreading. People started saying that the spirits of the children were pushing the cars off the tracks to prevent another accident. To test this idea, some visitors began performing a strange experiment. They covered the back of their cars with baby powder or flour before parking on the tracks. After the car rolled forward, they checked the powder. Many claimed they saw small handprints in the dust, tiny fingerprints like those of children. Over the years, thousands of people have visited the ghost tracks hoping to witness the mysterious movement themselves. Some report hearing faint laughter or whispers when standing near the crossing late at night. Others say they feel a sudden chill in the air. Skeptics believe the movement is simply caused by an optical illusion known as a gravity hill, where the surrounding landscape tricks the brain into misjudging slopes. But believers insist something else is happening there, because every time a car stops on those tracks, it never stays there for long. Something unseen always pushes it away.